Hello and welcome to Who Dares Rolls TV. I am your host Mike B. Here we are in another week. I think it was March now. We are in March, which is something, I guess. I have notes here, but they're just kind of a random scattering of words. So I will try and piece my way through this to make some sense of what we're going to talk about. What have I played?
What's Mike played? I really want to know what Mike's played. What you played, Mike? Oh, and you other guys too.
Mainly with a little bit of Hearthstone. Valheim is definitely, it's not good. It's sucking my life away. I'm going to have some form of intervention, I suspect. I don't know. We'll see how we do. We've been playing a lot of that. Vikings, sandboxy thing. It's just a lovely distraction. Nothing terribly complex or deep in it. We sailed off. Robbie got stuck on an island. I had to go and rescue him. I made some honey for some bees. Went some mining. We did stuff like that. So that's what we've been doing. Really just bimbling around and doing that. A bit of pillaging, just chopping down trees, destroying the ecostructure of an area, just basically fucking everything up. So that's all been fun. And then let's do some news. I think news is probably important. There's a lot going, so let's do how to unpack all this. So quick one. Gale Force 9 have put a date on. I think it's I did read the date. I believe it's the end of this month, end of March, April is the launch of the Spartacus reprint from Gale Force 9. If you've watched Top 50, I mentioned Spartacus on there. It is a cracking game. I love it. It's a very beer and pretzels type game, a lot of dice chucking. If you've ever watched the Spartacus TV show, which I'll be honest with you, watch the prequel season and the first season. They're absolutely astounding, with John Hannah and Lucy Lawless playing kind of Lady Macbeth in this ludus as a training the Gladiators. Fantastic. The later seasons suffered, A, from the leading man sadly passing away, and B, the guy replacing him being a bit of a cardboard cutout, in my opinion, and D or E, wherever we're up to at this point in time. It just didn't have the without Hannah and without that kind of vicious sort of to and fro between those two. Everything just kind of I didn't persevere with it. I watched, I think, part of the second season. Didn't really do it with me. But the first couple of seasons, well, the prequel and the first one's brilliant. And this is all set on that. So it's all about you building your ludus up, building gladiators, fighting in an arena, rolling loads of dice. The original one had a lot of artwork from the TV show. This one's got a lot of, this is all new artwork, their own in-house stuff. I don't think any major tweaks have been made to it. I think maybe a couple of cosmetic bits, but yes, it's brilliant. If you don't own it, and it's obviously hard to get at the moment and expensive, wait for that to come out. It is great. If you can get a group of you around eventually to play it for up to 4 players. I think the base box, there was expansions that expanded up to about 6, I think. It goes on a bit for an evening, but it is fun. It is stupid. You're doing horrible things to each other. You're throwing lots of dice. You're fighting in the arena, and it encapsulated all that joy that I loved about that in that, and it's brilliant. I'm glad to have it, and I'm tempted by the new edition just for the new art and all that. It kind of looks cool, but it's not essential for me. Stardew Valley came out with no reviews or anything. It's just come straight out from, I presume, the guys who did it. It looks, glancing at it, as I've never played Stardew Valley, to be honest. I think it's one of those sort of, again, sandboxy type thing. You're in a peaceful valley growing stuff. It's essentially Agricola with a sort of anime-ish vibe, 8-bit Nintendo vibe over the top of it is the best I can do by looking at it. There seems an awful lot going on, and it's certainly not an entry-level game. Looking at the video, I think Edo had a video out. I watched it, skimmed bits of it, and there's just a lot of stuff going on. So I don't know who it's aimed at. It's sold out apparently. People are scalping the shit out of it. I'm left bemused and not particularly bothered. Witch of the Old World, there's another video dropped of that from the designer going into a lot more depth and detail about the actual how your character will work and how the different scores work and the different stats and all that sort of stuff, and fighting. A bit more depth of that. I mean, it is looking interesting. It's about I think it was about a 10-minute video. I skimmed again through bits of it, but certainly interesting, so a lot of depth to the game, which is a nice universe to play in. So we will see where that goes. There's also been announced Alien Fate of Nostromo, which is an alien. I think it's coming from it's Prospero Hall, I think. The guys who, and Ravensburgers, that sort of area, those guys who did stuff, I think they did Jaws and all the other stuff. So I have hope. There's no player elimination. Apparently it looks like it's sort of a co-op game where you're running around scurrying to get the resources, I presume, to fill the life raft to escape. They've shown very little. There's no board or anything. There's the graphic of the figures, which obviously are 3D renders. They look kind of cool. The fact, the opportunity of having a Harry D. Stanton action, mini is kind of tempting, just for the Yaphet Kotto and him that were brilliant as Brett and Parker in the movie. So just to have them from nerd credentials, I'm definitely tempted by. So yeah, anyway, I don't know any really more than that. It's Alien, Lifeform, I think, stands at the moment still as a really great Alien board game, capturing that real feel of the movie and that sort of thing. Nemesis is more aliens, but again a bit alien, but they're cool. So there's some heavy hitters out there, and I don't foresee that this necessarily will do great. But I'm a fanboy, so I'm probably going to weaken. Then we go. Let's go to crowdfunding. Real skim through that. Kickstarter's a few bits. There's the Dark Knight Returns board game, which I would be all over because I love the Dark Knight Returns. I love the whole. It's a brilliant comic book. If you've never read it, fantastic. It's influenced a lot of stuff. Zack Snyder, I think, is mainlining it for pretty much his entire Batman output when he was in DCEU. Anyway, great comic, really good of its time to a certain extent, but I love it. I think it's great. Board game of it. Ooh, yes. It's a 1 to 2 players. I think it's coming from IDW. I don't know. It's really expensive, especially for all the minis. $100 for a 2-player board game, which I'm never going to get to play because I don't really play 2-player board games. So it's a pass for me, which is a shame because I would have really been up for that. Something maybe I could have played solo. I don't know. I'll wait for retail potentially when it comes out, and it probably comes out a lot cheaper. There's also So You've Been Eaten, which received a huge amount of buzz about a year or so ago. I mean, I remember seeing it. The poster will probably look familiar if you didn't see any of the buzzes. It was something, the major buzz around it is that it was a 0 to 2 player game, so it would essentially play itself. Seems bizarre, but it got big beers, and that was it. And now it's appeared on Kickstarter. There's a video for it, which is really ridiculous. It's just like, it's like they've set the lass down who's doing the video and told her, you have 5 seconds to do this or you're going to be dead. She's scattering information out and it doesn't really do anything. I was just like, what the fuck is going on? Which baffles me. The big build-up they've had time to do this, and that's what they put out. Anyway, I was looked and went, yeah, and moved on. Fiji, I saw it at Dragon Meet just before COVID wrecked our lives. It's a area control board game it's all about religion and followers. Think of Civ, actually, one of the Gods and something expansion of Civ had you sort of spreading your religion far and wide, and from what I recall of it, it's kind of an area control game, but it's all based on this, you spreading the word of your God amongst the populace. It was kind of a cool theme. It looked kind of cool. I never really got a chance to play it, and it was something I was going to look at. I believe it kickstarted or attempted. I bought it last year, and obviously didn't fund, and now they're back with it. It's worth a look because I like the theme on it alone, even though I can't pronounce the fucking name of it. But you could have a look at that. That I think is all the Kickstarter shit. The shizzle of Kickstarter. Yeah, I think that's all pretty much what I've seen. The other stuff going on then is, we'll stop a break, is Ignacy, our old buddy Ignacy from Portal Games. He was on the other day, did a big announcement. So the big news is that they are going to GameFound with a new print of Robinson Crusoe. Essentially, there is a bunch of options in the thing. You can pick up the base game Robinson Crusoe with a new box cover, but apparently at the moment, as of this moment in time, it is, I can hear hammering. Okay, so literally, the first time I've got time off to go and do a fucking video, and then over there is one of the neighbours is erecting a fucking ark in his garden. So, sorry. So the base version of Robinson Crusoe will be in there, which will just have a new box cover. And at the moment in time, that is just what you can pick up at retail. Second edition or whatever, third edition it is. Robinson, for the record, for me, it's a great game. I love it. I have the old Z-Man edition of it, which is marred by the incomprehensible rulebook and nonsense. But it's a fucking cracking sort of game if you, a bit sandboxy, if you surviving an island. It's essentially it's Valheim, the board game. Lots of snow. It's just a wonderful bunch of really full, frothy, flavoursome mechanics thrumming around about there, dice rolling and lots of how you make choices and then they can come back and bite you in the arse. There's a real cool mechanism of a card deck that as you make decisions on it, it goes in the deck and you put a mark on your character, and if that card resurfaces, it's undoubtedly going to do something horrific to you. Like, oh, you've stubbed your toe on this cactus. Oh, you'll be all right. And then, within 3 turns, the toe's gone green, fallen off, and it's all gone bad. Anyway, cracking game. So, back to what I was talking about. He's announced that the on-game film that's coming out, so you can pick up Robinson if you don't own it. They're also bringing up, which is kind of cool, but looks quite interesting, is a tutorial campaign. I think it's a 3 or 4 game tutorial campaign that will teach you Robinson Crusoe. And if anyone's touched or been near Robinson Crusoe, you will wear great thematic, deep, wonderful, solid game, lots of mechanisms, lots of stuff going on. To teach it, it's a fucking nightmare. Add to the fact, if you try to teach it, I used to teach it using the old Z-Man edition, which is like Sanskrit to try to work. So yeah, it is a bear to teach, and it's also a pain in the ass. It's one of those rare games. I love it dearly, played it quite a lot of times, but whenever you pull it out of the box, especially my edition, I'm left going, oh shit. And often it sometimes goes back in the box. There is the new version out, which has got definitely a refined and much better rulebook. So if you pick it up now, it's far more playable. But yes, they put this in this box as this 1 to 3 player campaign, 1 to 3 mission campaign, teaches Robinson Crusoe. In Narcy cites Jaws of the Lion, Isaac and Childress and Jaws of the Lion. I think the guy who was behind the design of that process. And Jaws of the Lion has this wonderful scenario campaign thing, which teaches you the game. So they've taken that influence. I think the guy involved in that is on board doing this Robinson Crusoe one. I'm going to breathe. So yeah, that's pretty cool. That's on this Game Found thing. And also the Book of Adventures, which I didn't really know much about. A bit more is leaked on this point. It's essentially a book of scenarios. I think some fan-made stuff, some stuff that's never been published or been available cons. And I think it was 12 or so new scenarios, all in this book, so you can flick and set it up. So that's a lot of playability in that thing. Add to the fact that they brought out Mystery Tales last year, I think it was, or maybe start of this year. It's last year. And the Treasure Chest, which had a load of stuff in it. I don't know what else is on this thing. Essentially, it looks like you just pick up these little bits. And I think it's just maybe an opportunity to relaunch it and kind of get it out there. We're in the middle of COVID, so, kudos to Ignacy for kind of thinking outside the box and trying stuff. Oh yeah, and miniatures, that's the thing, of course. So there's an upgrade box pack in this. If you own whatever version of Robinson Crusoe in whatever capacity or whatever you've got, essentially there is a lot of bling. So there's a bunch of minis for the characters that, to me, kind of superfluous because I've been playing it for years without the need of that. But hey, if minis are your crack, then these are the guys from Awakened Realms have done them. They look kind of cool. I'll see the price on the stuff. I don't think I can possibly. I'm more tempted, if anything, to pick up the new revised edition of Robinson. So I've got a bit easier teacher. The campaign thing sounds very interesting. No idea of pricing yet. I think it's coming late March. It's launching, if I remember rightly. I didn't actually write that bit down. But that's coming. He also announced an app for Robinson Crusoe, which allows us to do some of the heavy lifting for if you want that. You don't need it, but it will do that. I don't know what it does, but that's interesting. That might, especially for solo play, that'll probably work quite well with it. And there was also discussion of Voyage of the Beagle, which was an expansion that came out back when the Z-Man had the rights to it. They published an expansion by Ignacy, Voyage of the Beagle, which kind of is similar to the Mystery Tales expansion, in that it was kind of a campaigny thing to do with Charles Darwin and all that stuff. It's only ever printed once. It's been out of print forever. Now ridiculously expensive to pick up. And it's also kind of clued into the old version. They're working on a reprint. They're tweaking it and refining it and to make it more of an event like Mystery Tales was. So more in there, more exciting stuff. And it'll be coming out next year. So that's kind of cool. So there was a big dollop of Portal stuff there. On top of that, there's also 51st State expansion, which is the Moloch expansion, which essentially is a kind of semi-co-op in that that is now an AI enemy that you can work cooperatively to a point, semi-cooperatively a point about attacking, but you can also throw your buddies under the bus if you want them to be attacked by it. 51st State is essentially a re-implementation of Imperial Setters, which in itself was a re-implementation of the original version of 51st State. It's an engine building card deck thing game set in a post-apocalyptic world. They're very similar. I love both Settlers and 51st State because they are different beasts and different aesthetics and all that. So I have got both of them there. And I picked one of the expansions up for it, but not the others actually. So I will possibly do that. There you go. There's a lot of stuff, wasn't it? Other than that, what have I been doing myself? Not a lot. I've been watching One Division. One left to go on One Division. I really enjoyed One Division. I like that it's kind of tickling my comic book nerd thing in that it's kind of dropping lots of Easter eggy type stuff and referencing the comic books and the history of the comic books and the history of sitcom as well, which is kind of cool. So all of that kind of nerdy goodness is in there, and I'm quite digging it. And I like also that actually they're kind of retroactively kind of giving Age of Ultron a bit more meat to it, because I think there was probably a bit of a disappointment when it came out, and it definitely wasn't as great as the original Avengers movie. It kind of fell a bit flat. It didn't get the best ratings. It was okay. It felt a little bit like it was kind of heavy lifting for what was to come. So it's quite nice that they're kind of going back via One Division to kind of peek in a few bits and pieces, just give that a little bit more depth to it, which is kind of cool. I'm quite enjoying it. I'm enjoying it as what it is. It's quite. I'm not going to say anymore to spoil it if you're not watching it, but it's well worth having a look at if you're in any way invested in the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and you enjoy that, or you're a Marvel comic fan. There's a lot to love and enjoy about that. And Elizabeth Olsen's doing a cracking job, really knocking out the park acting wise. And Paul Bettany is always nice to watch. So I've been watching that, really much enjoying that. Hopefully next day or so, me and Son Number One will be delving back into our Tarantino thing. I think Kill Bill. I think I fancy a bit of Kill Bill, so we're going to give a bit of that a go. I don't think I've watched anything else, to be fair. So there you go. That's it. That's us for the minute. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Charlie, I think he might have another video soon. If not, there's a Scene Quest one I put out the other day from him. I mentioned Geek Lunch Meat. Geek Lunch? That's Buddy Chris's video. That was on the last video. There's a link to it. Have a look at that if you've got some more nerdy goodies. Reviews wise, obviously not much going on at the moment because, well, I can't really get any games played. However, I've got a few things percolating. I want to do a little bit more on Portal so I might get that video done and maybe some list stuff. I think at this present point in time, probably making lists of stuff is my only option of content wise. So we'll see. But there we go. Anyway, there's that. There's this. There's me. Thanks for tuning in. Stay safe out there. I will be back soon, I'm sure, with more of the same nonsense. Ta-ta.
Bye.